Hi, this is Mr. Hubbard, and this is an introductory video, and we're going to be talking about a product called Glowscript. Actually, it's a programming language called VPython, but you can go to this website called Glowscript and do all your coding there, which means you don't have to install anything on your computer, and it'll work from your from whatever computer you want to use. And that's why we want to use this one. It has almost the exact same syntax as VPython. There's a couple of exceptions that we probably won't run into. So almost everything you read about how to code in VPython will work for Glowscript. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to www.glowscript.org. I will be putting a link to that particular site in our OneNote if it's not there already. And when you go there, you want to sign in. But when you sign in, they don't have their own login. What you need to do is you have to log in with Google. Now, I have a login that's actually a school. It's not really a school login, but it's one I use only for school business. I don't do anything else with it. So I'll log in with this one. It asks you for your password, and you put in your password. And Google is asking me to do some other things. I'm just going to skip that for right now. Okay, so now I'm in. See how I'm logged in as Austin Physics Hubbard. I can sign out. And you're going to get the same kind of page. And so I'll click here to go there. Now, I already have a couple of programs in here, but I'm going to create a brand new program. Even though I have one called First VPython, I'll create a new one. And I'm calling it First VPython number 2. Now, the first thing you notice, it already puts this in. You don't want to take that out. Computers are funny things. Programming computers are funny things. What we want to do, this is just telling the website we're using the VPython language. If you take that out of there, none of your programs will work unless you know the other languages that Glowscript uses. So keep it alone. Don't touch it. Now, one of the cool things about Visual Python is that you can do some very complex things very easily. Like I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a sphere, and all I'm doing is typing in the word sphere. Then I'm putting in this open and close parentheses. At first you're going to say, well, what's that for? And I don't blame you if you do. You will see what it's for, because right now we're just going to make a sphere. And now I want to run this program. And this is, before you start saying yes, so what, this is actually a very sophisticated picture of a sphere. Notice I'm using my right mouse button to drag my mouse across this, and it's rotating the sphere in every direction you can think of. The sphere has shading, so there's a light source, and you kind of see where the light source is hitting it right here. And as I move this around, it's I'm changing my perspective. The light is standing still. So it's really got a lot of very sophisticated things here, and all we did was type in the word sphere. We'll be able to do very cool animations where we won't have to know much about how to program graphics. We just have to know about the physics that's involved, which we're going to be talking about, and we're going to use this to help us understand and remember the physics and to save us some calculation later on. So, now, one thing about this, you'll notice it's a certain size, and it's a certain place on the screen. And maybe I don't want it this size, and I don't want it this place on the screen, and I don't want it that color. That's an ugly color. Well, I can change this. And that's what these parentheses are for. In here, we put something called attributes. Other programming languages call it parameters. And I don't care if you've done other programming and you want to call it a parameter, fine, call it a parameter. First one I'm going to say is what its position is. So we will abbreviate the word position. And no, you can't spell it out. It only understands POS. And the position is a vector. We have to give it a spot in space. And it's just an X, Y, and Z vector. And there's the X, there's Y, there's Z. So I'm just saying it's -1, 0, 0. And so this is going to be 1 unit. We don't know what it is, meters, inches, I don't care. It's just 1 unit to the left. And 0 units in the Y direction, which on our screen is going to be up and down, and 0 units in the z direction, which is back and forth. Now that's our first parameter, and I have to put commas to separate the parameters. If I don't, it'll give us an argument there. The next one I'm going to say radius. What's my radius? Well, this is just very simple. It's a number, 0.5. I can pick any radius I want. I want it to be half of what it starts out as. And the color? Now the color, we're going to specify a color, and then we have a weird way of saying the color. It's color.red. We can't just say color equals red. It'd be nice if we could, but there are some funny things about this language that when we see more about how this works, it'll become more obvious as to why we have to do it this way. Right now, we're just starting off, we're just writing our first program, and I'm just going to say, let's see if it works. And there it is. It's red, it's moved over to the left, and it's a smaller sphere than what we had before. So this is our first program where we made a sphere and we changed its attributes. And again, notice, now this time when I try and rotate, I'm rotating where the camera is, and it kind of goes farther away from me and closer to me. Moving the camera around, this thing was starting off center. So it's not like I'm going to move around it. If I want to zoom in on it, I can use the wheel on my mouse, and I can just scroll in. Now, if you're using a tablet or a touch screen, you just use your normal commands to, you can just drag with your fingers, and you can zoom in by using your 2 fingers, just like you would do that on a phone or something like that. So, this is a very cool setup. We don't have to do any of the hard work that's involved in this. I'm going to come back to this, and I'm going to put in another shape. Are there other shapes? Sure there are. And just to let you know where you can go if you want to find out about other shapes and stuff, notice I've got this help thing here. What does that do? Well, it takes me over here. This is a very straightforward website. If you go here, these are I was about to say variables because I saw the word variable. These are links to YouTube videos, just like this one. But these are dealing with VisualPython, the version of VisualPython that you actually have to download and install on your computer. And so I'm making these videos so that we don't have the subtle differences between what you're going to be doing and what these videos will tell you. But if you want to get ahead before I get these things set up, go ahead and click on those and see what's in them. I'm not going to be doing everything that they do in my series of videos. So I'll probably be going through the first 4 pretty much the same way, and then I'm going to do some different things. I'm going to come back to some of these topics later, but after loops and animation, I'm going to go back and do some different things. Over here is more of the help. So if you just want to find out about different shapes that are already in there, you can just go down this list. And like sphere, let's find sphere there. And this is where it tells you all about the sphere. You can see that we typed in things like position equals vector and radius equals 0.5. So they've got some things on about how to use a sphere. You can read about that and learn more about how to use a sphere. There's choose a 3D object, and there's other objects we can choose. We can some very sophisticated ones. Lights, we can talk about how do we put a light in there, because there's all sorts of really hard programming problems that come up when you do some things like that. But this is all taken care of for you. So I'm just going to close there, get back. We're going to do an arrow, which I didn't click on, but that's okay. Arrow. Now an arrow doesn't have a radius. Instead, an arrow will have a position. And I'm going to make it a position 1, 0, 0. And it's also going to have an axis. And that's also going to be a vector. And that's going to be 0, 1, 0. So this arrow should point straight up and down. Let's make it color equals, do we have blue? Let's see if we've got blue. Let's run this. There we go. I've got a blue arrow sitting here. So all sorts of other colors that I could use. I could choose green, that kind of stuff. Comic book fans might like the idea of a green arrow. I'm going to change its starting spot right there. And okay, you're a comic book fan. Let's change it to green. There you go. With this program, there we go. Okay, so in a second I'm going to put up a screen that you can do to try and challenge yourself, see if you can extend this a little bit. Right now you'll notice again this is a sphere with an arrow, and you can play around with it. Let me just go back to this and describe this things with this. Again, the starting spot, that's where the bottom part of the arrow is, not the pointy end, but the other end. And then the axis is the vector that it's going, direction that it's going. So if we haven't talked about vectors yet, we will. You can describe a vector as either an angle, but when we're dealing with a 3D coordinate system here, it's just easier to say that this vector is pointing 0 units in the x direction, 0 units in the z direction, and 1 unit in the y direction. In this case, it means it's straight up and down. I'll do one last thing in this. I'll make it go straight down, not straight up. And run this. Notice how the arrow is pointing down. So that's our quick introduction to Visual Python. Go ahead and take a look at that screen that I'm going to be showing in a second, and try and get that. Try and make that happen on your computer. When you're done with that, go on to the next video that we have so we can see some more stuff that we can do with this. Okay, have a good day, and we'll see if we can't get our rockets launching and our computers running, showing us these launches.